slides that we have for today. All right, so anatomy and physiology. It is important. We are going to delve a little bit into the sciences this time around. Let me put it in slideshow so it will be bold and good so we can all see it. So what is anatomy? We want to look at anatomy and physiology, which is very, very important for the CNA. Anatomy simply talks about the structure of the body. Our body is made up of different parts. Our body is made up of different parts, different structures of the body that we have. There are many things that make up our body. Now, take for instance, us as humans, most times we take these things for granted. We don't really understand how our body works. We don't understand how our body moves. We just know that we can stand up in the morning, take our breakfast, move our bones, and move around. But I tell you, it's not that easy. If you understand every movement that you make, look at your body. Just take a good look at your body. Hold up your hand. Maybe wriggle those hands around, wriggle your hands, take a sip of water, hold your breath, sniff the air. These are little things that we really take for granted. And I guess that if we're not science-oriented, most times we may not have maybe taken time to pause to ask ourselves, what makes me able to move? What makes me walk? What makes me sit? What makes me stand? All these things are very, very important. So this our body is made up of different parts. And these different parts work together in unison, work together hand in hand to ensure that at the end of the day, we are able to remain in good health and actually carry out the necessary activities that we need to do to carry out. So every moment, every movement that you make and every new day that you live to see, you sleep and you wake up the next day, you live to see, is the result of a collection of systems in your body working together to function properly. We can be termed as, or a person can be termed as a magnificent beast. That is how it's called, because all the parts of your body does different things. Internally, if you were to pull out your skin for any reason, or maybe to go for an ultra scan or to go for a check, just take a moment and see what goes on in your body as you walk. Just imagine your veins, the capillaries, the arteries, the bones, the tissues, and so on in your body, a whole lot of things. So, like I said, today we are going to delve a little bit into science. So put on your, even if you are not science oriented, like you know me, how I love to do. I like to break things down to the barest minimum because this is a foundational stage training and it's not really cast on concrete that you must have a science background before you become a certified nursing assistant, at least at this level. So I'm just going to see how to bring it down so that those that don't have the science knowledge at all would actually understand. So if your intestine, this intestine inside your system, your stomach right now, inside your body, is brought out and stretched the way you stretch an elastic or the way you stretch something to make it, to bring it all out, bring the length, you would see that your intestine could be as long as a 3-story building. A 3-story building that is very high, you understand? So that's how long your intestine is, but all put together and put in the proper way remains inside your body. So why am I saying all these things? Also, before you get old, you must have removed enough saliva in your mouth that could fill a swimming pool or almost half of a swimming pool. Believe you me, from when a person is born up till the time the person actually lives, especially if you live at your ripe old age, you can produce saliva that can fill a swimming pool or even half of a swimming pool. Then you can imagine how wonderful this God is. You can imagine how the parts of the body actually do their work in the proper way. Now, why am I saying this? We are talking about anatomy and physiology. Anatomy is the study of the body, the study of the organs. What are the organs that you have in your body? Okay, the physical structure of these organs, your liver, your kidney, your your skeleton, your muscles, and the nervous system, the organs that you have in the body. The study of the structure of how it is, if you place the diagram and then you see the parts of the body, that is anatomy, the study of the structure of the body. It talks about looking at the body and how these parts are organized, how they are in the body. That is anatomy. I want us to understand, because sometimes people get it twisted. So I'm taking time to really explain so that we would understand and we can be on the same page. So, like I said, that is anatomy. Like you have the chambers in the body, you have the chambers in the body, you have the valves, you have the blood vessels, you have the capillaries, you have the veins, and so on, and a whole lot of things. All those things put together, when you talk about them, you are talking about anatomy. But when we talk about physiology, physiology talks about how these parts actually function. That's the action part of it, what they actually do. That is the physiological aspect of the talking about the human body. How does it work? How does your heart actually pump blood? How does your skeleton make you to move? How do you move with the use of the muscles in your body and the use of your skeleton? That is the physiological aspect of it. It examines how the systems in your body work together to keep you alive and healthy, to make you sound. You can wake up and you can actually work and carry out activities of daily living, or activities that are important for you to carry out. So that being said, it is important that we are able to decipher between the two. We are able to understand, oh, today network is really, really something. Please, I pray that it doesn't obstruct us. And that is physiology. Now, when we are talking about how the body works, that's why it is important that we as CNAs, we understand how the body works, because it would help us to actually relate with patients. We would know when we see that there is a problem, we will understand that there's a problem, because we already know how the body works. We already know that the heart rather is supposed to pump blood. So if a person has a challenge with the heart, maybe lungs problem or the heart issue, you automatically know that there is a problem with the pumping of blood. There is an issue, or someone has cardiac arrest now, you immediately know that there's a blockage in the blood flow, in the blood circulation. There is that blockage that has resulted in the person having the heart attack. So that is why it is important that we as certified nursing assistants, we understand these things. Physiology explores how, like if you want to talk about the heart, like I said, it explores how the heart responds to exercises. When you do exercises, how the heart responds and how it helps to deliver oxygen to your body. So the major difference is anatomy is the structure of the parts of the body, while physiology is the study of how these parts actually function. That is the A to Z of it all before we proceed. Okay, on the slide, please, are we together? Can you hear me? I'm going to be asking more often today because network today is not friendly at all. It's one of the worst days ever.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so please,
Yes, we can hear you, ma'am.
All right.
Yes,
So the body is very, very broad.
Better.
All right, thank you. So the body has many organs, and when you divide, the body is divided, the human anatomy, remember when I talk about anatomy, is the physical structure of the parts of the body, can be divided. These are bodies divided into organ systems, different organs and different systems, and these systems actually function. On this slide, you would see a different definition, a slight difference based on the medical dictionary, what it says, but it's still one and the same thing. I just had to put the slide so that you can spice it up anyhow you bring it, whether the first explanation or the one on this slide, all is good to go. Because in CNA exams, it's always in exams for certified nursing assistants. Most times that question you may be asked, I don't know, it depends on the year. They keep changing the questions, the board exams. So you may be asked the difference between states categorically, the difference between anatomy and physiology. Now I am giving you ESPO, first-hand ESPO. So it's important that we really understand. Now, this is the human anatomy. This is the body. You can see the picture there. You can see the skeleton. You can see the intestine. You can see the liver. You can see the lungs. You can see the parts of the body, the human body. Okay, so right now at this point, just sit relaxed and we are going to have to move. We are going on a journey now. We want to look at the parts of the body. Now, I am not going to be teaching you as if I'm teaching registered nurses or I'm teaching maybe perhaps in a medical school. No, because we are not at this stage supposed to go in depth into the A to Z of the human anatomy and how it works, because it's going to be more of the medical jargons and the medical terminologies is going to confuse you, especially those that are not science inclined. Yeah, so, but it is important that we have a surface knowledge of this organ systems in the body and what they do, just at least an idea of what's one of the functions that they actually perform or carry out. Hence, you see, we decided to put it. It's always important. And if you follow it, will be easier for those that want to register, move further to be registered nurses, or maybe doctors, or move higher. You have that background knowledge. So practically, as you can see, these are the systems, the organ systems that we have in the body. Circulatory, the digestive, the endocrine, the excretory, immune, integumentary, lymphatic, muscular, nervous, skeletal, reproductive, and respiratory systems. All these are systems that we have, organ systems that we have in the body. So now we are going to look at their functions. We are just going to, I'm going to bring it to the barest minimum. So I'm not going to be talking in medical terms. I'm not going to be talking in that advanced stage. So if you are a medical doctor or you are a licensed registered nurse, please bear with me. I'm going to bring it down so that you can fit in, as well as those that don't have the medical background, so we can all be on the same page. So let us look at the circulatory system. Let's first of all look at the circulatory system. Now, what does the circulatory system do? What is the function of the circulatory system? That's what we are going to see on the next slide. Now, the circulatory system originally from that word, circulation, you know that it does something, it moves. It moves. So anything circulation means something that is moving and is turning. So the circulatory system, what it does, one major thing that it does is it helps to deliver oxygen. The oxygen you need in your body. It is the circulatory system that delivers that oxygen and spreads nutrients, circulates nutrients within in between the cells, in the cells, and helps to take away waste too. It also deals with the pumping of the heart, where your heart is pumped. So now I'm just going to give you the simplest, because all these ones are a bit, the circulatory system is solely responsible, like we had already said, for transporting blood, for transporting oxygen, the oxygen that you actually breathe in, and it is transported to other parts of your body that makes use of this oxygen. That is the major duty of the circulatory system. It pumps blood in the heart, and then it helps the arteries. The arteries helps to carry blood away from the heart. It helps to move blood, to move forward, to move back, to take the blood out, from the heart, and then the veins bring it back. That's what it does. It circulates, it moves around. Now, think of the heart. Like I said, I'm going to bring it down. Think of the heart. I'm going to give you an illustration in each of these organs. Think of the heart as a pump in a garden fountain. Maybe you have a garden where you plant vegetables, you plant things, and then you have a pump. When you put on that tap, or maybe that pump, you see the way the water circulates. It comes out in a rush, it comes out and circulates the water through the pipes, which is the blood vessels, to nourish the plants that you have, which is the organs. That's exactly what the circulatory system does, if you use that illustration. So when you pump the water in the garden, in the fountain, the water is spread, it circulates through the pipes that you use, and the pipes could be likened to the blood vessels that you already have to nourish the plants that you have in your garden, which is the same as the organs that you have in your body. So that is what the circulatory system actually does. I'm bringing it down for everybody to understand. Okay, we also have the digestive system. Digestive breaks down food. That one, we all know about it. Most of us that at least primary school and junior GSS 1, 2, 3, we're taught into science, integrated science. So that is what the digestive system does. It breaks down food and absorbs the nutrients for energy and growth. That's food. It breaks it down, helps the nutrient to be extracted from the food, for you to have the energy and to have the growth that you need. Like you can see there, it's a long tube that goes right from your mouth down to your anus. It goes just like that. So the digestive system talks about breaking down food. Now, digestive system begins with chewing food and then saliva, mixing food with acid. The stomach mixes the food with acids to break it down. When you chew the food in the mouth, the stomach collects it. It mixes the food with acids to help break down, to make it, to break it down. You understand? So in the process of breaking down, the intestine absorbs these nutrients and absorbs the water. So that is the major thing the digestive system does. Now let's get to the illustration, just as I gave you the first one. Imagine this body that we have. Imagine your body as a factory, a big factory. Now the digestive system is the assembly line that takes these raw materials, it takes the food, it takes the raw materials and turns them into usable products. Like you have a factory. So the raw materials, you process it and it becomes a finished product or usable product. That's just the way it is. So when you eat in your body, the food is worked on and the digestive system turns it into nutrients that you would make use of in your body. So that is practically for those two. I want to be as fast as I can and well explanatory. Please, are we together? Can I go ahead? Do we understand?
Yes, you can go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, I know people are getting bored, but you don't have to be bored. It's CNA. You don't have to be bored. One, you need patience, and that's why I commend every one of you that stayed back. At least the 20 of you I met when I was able to, because patience is one virtue that we have to have. Some people would have said, oh, no, I have things to do. I have to fly. I have to, so, but thank you. So, let's go on. I'll be fast as possible. It's important we have to do it. So let's look at the endocrine glands. That's another system in the body. Now, this endocrine, what it does, it produces hormones that regulate different body functions, including growth, including metabolism, how your body works. That is what the endocrine system actually does. Metabolism means converting food or drinks into energy. That's the meaning of metabolism, in case that's a bit. So endocrine glands, what it does, like I said, it releases hormones into the bloodstream that helps to control your mode. Your different modes that we have, controls your growth, controls your development, controls a whole lot of things. So the endocrine gland system or glands is very, very important in the body. Now, take for example, think of hormones. I'm bringing it down now. Think of hormones as maybe messages that is sent by a post office. That those days that we used to have post office, you have to go and, have a postman deliver messages from one place to another, move from one house to another. So think of hormones as messages that is sent by a post office. Now, each hormone delivers instruction to different parts of the body to keep everything running smoothly. So that is how the postman delivers the messages from one house to another, from one point to another, to ensure that everything runs smoothly and everybody gets, there's a better outcome at the end of the day. That is how the endocrine gland is. That is what it does. Now we get to the excretory system, which is the elimination of waste products. The excretory system simply removes waste and excess substances from the body. When you have excess, you eat a lot, the excretory system sends out, it filters the blood. It helps filter blood from your kidney, and it helps produce urine too. Stores urine until it is released. Your bladder stores urine until you excrete you send the urine out. So practically, imagine this excretory system as a waste disposal system in a city, you know, efficiently removing trash, maybe removing waste to keep the environment clean. That's what excretory system does. Anything that is waste from your body, unusual sweat, you send it out, excrete it. It comes out. That's not needed anymore. The body doesn't need it anymore. Or you go to the toilet and pass excreta, that's form of excretion. That particular waste, the body doesn't need it anymore. So that is what that particular system does. Now, we have the immune system. The immune system, what does the immune system do? The immune system plays a very, very important role. It is your body's defense. That is the A to Z of immune system. It is your body's defense. It helps you fight against infections and diseases. That's why you see when someone has, maybe you contact people's body system is not the same. You can see A contacts an infection and B contacts the same infection. You discover that it is more conspicuous. That is more, how do I put it? Not conspicuous, but it's more obvious in A, because the body, maybe the immune system of A is not strong enough to fight that infection. So the adverse effect is greater than the person, the B person that has the infection. So our immune system is very, very important. It's our body's defense. Understand? And we have the white blood cells in the body that fight off germs. Your white blood cells, we have the lymph nodes that in the body that filter out harmful substances. So this one are more of, you know, medical things. So I'm just trying to take it on the surface. At least let us have a background idea. When someone has a particular challenge, you know exactly the part of the body that is being affected. That's why the person has that particular issue. If someone is having maybe this immune system is attacked, seriously attacked, of course, without being told, maybe the person is not able to handle it when he has, when the person has maybe one sickness, illness or the other, you immediately understand that if this thing gets proportionately out of hand, it means that the immune system of the person is getting weaker. The immune system is not able to fight against those infections or fight against. So it practically protects your body. That is what it does. It's just like your coat of armor. That is it, a line of defense. And so what the system actually does, the immune system. Okay, we have another part of another system in the body. I hope it has not jumped. Okay, the immune system. All right, so we have the lymphatic system. We have the lymphatic system, which is another system in the body. Now, what's its a sewage system? What does it do? Now, it helps to remove waste and excess fluid. It also helps to remove waste and excess fluid that leak out of our blood vessels. Very important. It's important to help us function, give us optimal, optimized functioning. I don't know how else to, but I'm trying to see. So let's get to the example so that you understand. Now, think of this lymphatic system as a drainage system that collects excess water from a garden and filters it to keep the plants healthy. That's what the lymphatic system does. It collects the excess water, it collects the excess, and then it filters it. You know what filter is? It will take off the ones that are not supposed to be and then give you the correct one, the one that is ideal to build your body. So practically, this is what the lymphatic system does. And then we have the nervous system. Okay, I thought I had jumped from that. Okay, we have the nervous system, which is very important too. Let's see, did I talk about? Okay. Nobody has reminded me. I know our mics are muted. We just finished talking about the lymphatic system. We also have the muscular system that helps mobility. This is very important because one of the major duties of a certified nursing assistant is mobility. You would help with ambulation, help to move your patient from one place to another. And it's something that you really need to know. Pardon, Taylor?
You did not talk about, after the immune system, you missed the integumentary system. You didn't talk about that when you just skipped to the lymphatic. system. So sorry, I just wanted to let you know.
Okay, okay, thank you. You see, that means you were following me. That's the way I wanted to see. In fact, my mood has just been off since that's a whatever thing happened, networking. Just I don't always like to have obstructions or bottlenecks on my way. So I'm trying to see how to. So forgive me, I had to skip it. I just skipped it. Okay. So we have talked about, thank you, Taylor, for that observation. We talked about the immune system. And so now we want to look at the integumentary system. This is another system in the body. It includes the hair, the skin, the nails. What it majorly does is it serves as protection. It gives you that protective barrier. It gives you that barrier, like it's just like your nails. It gives you, it protects you. It covers the surface of your fingers. It gives you that protective kind of armor. That is what it does. It protects you from infections, from injuries, like your skin. Your skin covers your body, so it gives you a form of protection. Your hair covers your scalp. On your head, covers your head. It gives you, that's why you see that if someone, let me give you an instance. If maybe a person has hits the head, yes, that's impact. Okay, let's look at maybe an accident or something. Sometimes if someone is hairy, that's you have your hair full, and then there is an accident, and then with someone that does not have hair on the head, maybe the hair is just, like that without hair, you see that the impact on the person with the hair will be less. Most times it's always less than the person that is without hair, because the hair gives some form of protective armor, some form of protective edge. So the integumentary system, that is what it does. Now I'm giving you an example as I have done from the beginning. Imagine your skin as a protective suit, like the suits that we wear. Imagine this your skin like that, just like you wear a suit that keeps your body safe from the outside world, much like a shield that is protecting a knight, like a shield, like a knight, a shield protects a knight. So that's simply what it is. Integumentary system gives you protection. It protects your body. It acts like a body's coat of armor to shield you, your first line of defense against anything that will come, your viruses, bacteria, or any microbes. So that is integumentary system for you. Okay, so that having said, I think I can move on to Taylor, right?
Yes, ma. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you for that observation. So now let's get to, we talked about lymphatic. I think we did talk about the lymphatic system that I said, I don't know if I said that. Yes, I did. We talked about the lymphatic system, and I gave you the illustration of like a garden, a drainage system that collects excess water from a garden and filters it to the patient. So the lymphatic system actually maintains fluid level in your body tissues. It doesn't make it to be over. It doesn't make it to be excess. That is what the lymphatic system does, which I think I had already done justice to that. So now we have the muscular system that enables movement. That's the A to Z. The muscular system enables movement. So if you find anybody, maybe your patient that cannot move, maybe cannot stand straight, has stability issues, know that that person there's something wrong with the person, with the muscular system of the body, because it's the muscular system that actually handles all these areas that we have talked about. Muscles allows a person to move, allows you to talk, to speak like I'm talking to you. It is the muscles I have that is giving me that ability to be able to talk to you the way I am doing. It controls heartbeats, controls breathing, controls a whole lot of things. That is what the muscular system does. But its major function is mobility, of course. Anywhere that you have to move, talk, you are moving, you have to move your mouth, move your jaw, any movement in your body. It is your muscular system that aids that particular movement. So now it controls, imagine, okay, let me give you an example. Imagine your muscles as the engine in a car. Those of us that have cars, the engine in your car, what does it do? It provides the power needed to move and function. Without the engine in your car, you cannot move your car from that place it is. So that's just the way the muscular system is. It deals with movement. It helps you to, provides the power needed to actually move, for you to move any part of your body. That's the muscular system. All right, we are almost done. So by the time I am done, I am going to ask just one or two persons, because I know you've been listening attentively and it's been quiet. So I'll just have to ask you mention one part of the body of the one system and what it does. Maybe 2 or 3 people will give me the answers, and we move to the next module. Okay, so now let's look at the nervous system. The nervous system, very important. It guides your activities, such as you're waking up, like you can see there, activities like breathing, complex procedures, thinking, reading, remembering, feeling emotions. That's why you see when people have people that have dementia, depending on the stages of dementia, because we have different stages of dementia. When we get to dementia care, we'll talk about it. So, but people that have dementia, your dementia challenge, they easily forget. So there is something automatically, if someone easily forgets, you know that the person has a problem or a challenge with the nervous system, because one thing that helps you to remember is your nervous system. It gives you that it shocks you, like something shocks you and makes you remember what you need to remember. You know, it helps you feel emotions. You feel emotions when you are sad, like when you are down, when you are weak, and all those things. So, or when you are thinking. So the nervous system controls your brain growth and your development. Very important, that part of your body. When once someone has stroke, you have dementia, you have most of these issues, there is no way your nervous system will not be intertwined to what is happening to you, because it is what directs your thinking, your sense of reasoning, your sense of being able to carry out logical judgments concerning anything at any time, because you have to think, you have to reason. So as such, the nervous system plays a very important role in a person's general health and well-being. Okay, now, as usual, let's see. Also, this nervous system transmits signals between the brain and the body immediately. For instance, now I'm talking to you, now I'm on this training, and I feel, for instance, just an illustration, maybe I feel like using the restroom, maybe easing myself. Immediately, my brain conveys it to me that, oh, you need to ease yourself. Your nervous system springs into action. My nervous system will spring into action, and I'll say, oh, please, excuse me, just give me 5 minutes and I'll be back. So you see, but for a person that has a challenge with the nervous system, the interpretation will not immediately get to you for you to understand that you have to do what you have to do at that particular time. So it is very important. It carries messages to and from your brain. That is the work of the nervous system. So think of the nervous system as a complex communication network. Now that we are into technology, the era of technology, think of this nervous system as a complex communication network, like a telephone system that connects different parts of a city. That's how it is, because it gives you message to the brain. So whatever you want to do, you want to ease yourself, you are feeling, even you, as much as you're feeling maybe pain in your tummy, your brain will immediately register it, because of your nervous system that is active, will immediately send the signal, and you begin to feel the pain and understand that something is wrong. So that is the duty of the nervous system. All right. And then we have the skeletal system. Of course, that one, we already know, the body support structure, that's the skeleton. It gives you the shape. It gives you the physique. It allows movement. It makes your blood cells. It protects your blood cells, and it stores minerals. That is what they actually do. It helps the cells in your body. It provides the shape. It allows movements between your bones. Skeleton, movements between the bones in the body. Imagine the skeleton, its shape and the stability. Maybe the 3-story building, maybe the duplex, maybe the bungalow, you know, just imagine it as of the framework of a building. It gives it that shape. So when you look at it, you can look at the shape and say, oh, this house is a bungalow, this house is a story building, or this house is a duplex. So that is how the skeletal system is. Pardon me and forgive me the way I'm taking it, but it's important. Some people may say, why is this as if we are? Yes, so that we are going to be looking at, before we get to another thing, is the main function of the respiratory system. What about the respiratory system? What does it do? Now, the respiratory system is very, very important. It helps with oxygen for your body cells. It helps with oxygen, and it gets rid of carbon dioxide, which is a waste product. It's responsible for you taking in oxygen. As I'm breathing, you breathe in, you take in oxygen, and you send out carbon dioxide. That is the duty of the respiratory system. It regulates you. So if someone is not really able to breathe, has issues with the lungs, has issues with the nose, with the respiratory tract, that the person has a problem with the respiratory system. So imagine the respiratory system as a pair of maybe bellows, for instance, expanding and contracting in fresh air. That is just how it is. So that is how it is when you send out breathing, and when you breathe out oxygen, I beg your pardon, when you breathe in oxygen and you send out carbon dioxide. This is very, very important. Okay, so I can read up later. All right. Okay, so practically, that is the A to Z of what we have been doing. We have talked about anatomy being the parts of the human body. You can see there we have a lot. We have the lungs, the kidney, the heart. That one we can already relate to that. But it was important that we break down the duties, the parts of the physiological aspect of this particular anatomy and physiology. That's talking about what these body systems actually do, how they function. That is what we have done so far. So I'm getting to the questions. We just have 2 slides before we wrap up this particular interface. This particular first module. So right now, I want us to pause. We want to look at a very important terminology when we talk about anatomy and physiology. It's a very, very important term. It's a unifying term. Let's say that, like you can see on the slide. But I want to know if we are all together. Are we together? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. We are.
Yes.
All right,
Yes, ma'am, we are
27.
together.
Yes,
I needed to know how many we
Yes.
are. 27. Okay, that's good. I haven't seen any
We are
question.
together.
We are
All right.
together, ma'am. We are together.
Thank you for the understanding and the support. Okay, so we want to look at homeostasis. That is, we want to look at homeostasis. What is homeostasis? Now, we have looked at the body and how the body works. This is our magnificent body that we all have. How does it work? Every part of our body every part of the body carries out one function or the other. And if the digestive system does what it's supposed to do, the muscular system does, all the systems of the body, if they do what they're actually supposed to do, at the end of the day, we'll be having a stable condition. We'll have good health. We'll be well. Let me use that word. We'll be healthy and well if all the parts of our body do what they're expected to do. Now, we have cases where we have people in the hospital, people admitted for one issue or one challenge or the other in the hospital. Obviously, with time, you will observe that if someone comes to the hospital with a particular challenge and the person is administered, medication is administered on the person, or the person is being treated, as time goes on, the person gets better. And what happens when the person gets better? What happens is that the body, the internal conditions of the body, the innate things that the parts of the body should do, they have become doing it. They have started doing it better. That is why the person is healthier. The person has moved from that stage the person is onto the welling stage, getting better stage because of the treatment. Now, homeostasis is simply the process by which the body maintains a stable environment, internal environment, is able to actually carry out, how do I put it? It's able to actually do everything it is expected to do well. The body works together. Now, the way God created human beings, a person that is well, your body already has its own internal conditions. It has its own fighting mechanisms, your immune system and other things that help you to fight. It's just take for instance, a thermostat. You have a thermostat in the house or a stabilizer in the house. When there is too much of, maybe there is an, how do I put it, power supply. Maybe you have a high voltage of lights coming. immediately the thermostat regulates the temperature. That is why you have the thermostat. I'm bringing it down so that we'll understand. Even if they give you a very high voltage of that, because you already have the thermostat, it will bring it immediately into favorable condition. It normalizes it. That is what the homeostasis in the body does. Now, we have some of the things the homeostasis does is temperature regulation. That's one thing. It helps to regulate your temperature. Imagine, I'm trying to explain what homeostasis is now. Imagine you are outside on a hot day, maybe Genevieve, okay? Genevieve is outside, perhaps carrying out exercise in a hot day where the sun is very hot. Now, your body temperature starts to rise because of the temperature of that, because of the sun, because of the severity of the sun, the hotness of the sun. Your body temperature starts to rise. And when your body temperature starts to rise, like your body gets very hot because of the sun, in response to that, your body sweats because the homeostasis, the thermostat in your body automatically regulates that heat and makes you to sweat so that sweat can reduce the temperature of that heat. That sweat will now bring your temperature back to normal, which is around normal temperature, maybe 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit or 37 degrees Celsius, as the case may be. So you see, if you have a problem with your body, if your homeostasis is not functioning properly, you find out that even as you are under that sun, you will not sweat because your internal conditions, because the thermostat, the mechanism that God has already put in your body that should regulate that hotness is not functioning. As such, it becomes a problem. So the body on its own already has its own cushioning effect, has its own thermostat inbuilt. Okay, we are still getting to something now. If the temperature, that same temperature we talked about, if the temperature is too high, the sweat glands will produce the sweat that would evaporate and cool the skin. You know, when you sweat, it evaporates and it has a way of cooling your skin from that hotness that it is, that it was. The sweat will help you evaporate and cool the skin, make you feel a little bit better. And if it is too cold, if you get into a place that is too cold, and then what happens? If you get into a cold place, what does the thermostat in your body do? I want somebody to, from the first illustration I gave about the hot sun, if you are in a place where there is so much cold, automatically something, the homeostasis in your body reacts. Something happens that will help you to generate heat. What is that thing that happens? Who can help me? Science students. Are we together? I was asking that question so I can take time to drink a little water. Yes, what happens? Who would help us? Okay, the Samsung. I don't know who is the Samsung. SM.
Sorry. Can you please repeat the question? My network was shaky at that point.
Okay, Taylor, but you know you are a nurse. So me, I wanted to hear from another person that maybe understands my own, that will understand the way, the breaking down and everything. So I'll still repeat the question anyway, but I don't know if there's any other person. What's happening to us today? I hope
Can you repeat the question again?
Good evening.
Okay.
I think is at the point where you mentioned that when one is found in a very hot environment, then your glands produce sweat, which also helps to cool the body temperature and automatically adjust to that temperature and helps you to tolerate the temperature. Similar thing also happens when you are in a very cold environment. Instead of producing sweat, you probably adjust, or I'm not a science student, so I don't know the right words to use. Sorry. So
don't worry.
The same homeostasis also helps you to adjust to the cold weather. That means the nervous system sends the message to the brain to let you know that this place is also cold. So you need to take precautionary measures to warm up to the environment where you found yourself.
Thank you. Thank you, Genevieve.
That's the literature.
Yeah, you have done justice to it. You have tried. Thank you so much. So let me ask the question again because I don't know who is Ayo Kumi.
Yes, I am.
Because do I have Ayo?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. I don't know that Ayo Kumi. I know Ayo rings a bell. But Kumi, I don't know. Kumi is not really ringing a bell from the list that I have, but I know Ayo is there. So maybe I used to just love to cut your name. Cut it to Ayo. I really like the short Ayo.
Okay,
Okay.
that's fine.
All right. So Ayo and Teila, I think those two said it. What I was saying is our body homeostasis is pronounced homeo, like to say homeostasis is, like we said, is just the ability for your body to be able to contain, to have your body originally builds its own internal conditions to be able to withstand any changes that it finds. When your homeostasis is not working, it's not, if the part of your body is not actually doing what they're supposed to do, that's how and why people end up in the hospital. It's important for us to note. So I was saying that one of the things, the illustrations of homeostasis, to make you really understand what this term means, is in a hot day when the sun is very hot, automatically you feel the hotness of the sun because you have the nervous system that gives you the signals your brain that, oh, it's so hot, the sun is so hot, like I was talking about Genevieve, on a hot day carrying out exercise. So immediately what happens is that the homeostasis in your body automatically sends the signal and you begin to sweat. That sweat in turn will evaporate and it cools down the temperature of your body. So you see, on its own, it's automated. It just automatically happens. Now, also vice versa on the other side, if the temperature is maybe it's a cold place, a place that is very, very cold. If it's too cold, you are in an AC room that is very, very, very cold, or in a cold weather, your body automatically, the same nervous system that will work if your homeostasis is in order, if everything works together, all the parts of your body, it sends the signal immediately and you begin to shiver. You begin to shiver. That's why you see people when they are in a cold place, they begin to shiver, to shiver, to shiver. Now, what that shivering does automatically is that as you shiver, your body generates heat on its own, resulting from that shivering that you have, that shivering sensation. It generates heat that will help to minimize or to control or to keep under check that cold that you are actually experiencing. So that's the question I was trying to say, which Genevieve also tried to do justice to it. You understand? So when you shiver, automatically when you shiver, you know what you are supposed to do, that you have to kit up yourself immediately when you shiver. So it is important for us to note. Now, that's one illustration that will help you to understand when we talk about homeostasis. Now, I'm getting to the second illustration, blood sugar levels. That's another thing. Now, after you eat or after someone eats a meal, your blood sugar levels does what? It rises when you eat a meal that has sugar in it, that has a carbohydrate meal that contains sugar. Now, when your blood sugar rises, in response, your pancreas is one of the parts in the body. Your pancreas releases insulin. It releases insulin, and a hormone that helps, insulin is a hormone that helps cells, take in glucose from the blood. Now, what the insulin does is that it helps to lower your blood sugar levels back to a normal range. That's why you see when people have diabetes, they tend to give them insulin injection, because what it does is that diabetes is a high level of sugar. Maybe they checked, oh, your sugar level is high or something. So automatically, because you are already ill, for those that are diabetic, there are some issues with their body systems and their homeostasis. So instead of the body to automatically generate that insulin, release that insulin that regulates that sugar, it cannot do that because of your state of lack of proper homeostasis, of your state of being diabetic. So what they do is they administer insulin. That is why any injection is very easy to give, but insulin injection is given by specialists. Not just anybody gives insulin injection. It has to be someone that really knows what to do, has the right training. So what is that? What I'm trying to say is that's another homeostasis. The body eventually gives releases insulin that helps lower your blood sugar levels back to a normal range. So you see another illustration of how homeostasis comes in relation to the parts of the body and how they function. Now, think of blood sugar like maybe the fuel that you have in your car. If it's too high, if it's overfilled, the body releases insulin to bring it down to an optimal level. That's what it means. Simple and short, related to the fuel you put in your car. If it is too high, of course, there should be something that should regulate it, that should immediately, automatically reduce it and keep it in a normal level so that it does not affect you. That is it. Then we also have another, I think those are practically, we've talked about the blood sugar level, we've talked about the temperature. So that is exactly what homeostasis talks about. That is what it is. It is just a term that is used for or to depict the ability for the body to be able to maintain stable internal conditions, to be able to maintain internal conditions, that occur outside the body. That is what is called homeostasis. All right, so the body, like we said, the body has a way of helping itself. It has a way of helping itself. So that is why sometimes you may even have a wound. If you have a good, strong immune system, you find out that even before you actually do what you need to do, the wound has actually healed. It depends on the person and your immune system and how your homeostasis is. Automatically, the body will already take care of that wound before you even decide to even get it treated in the first place, because our body has its own internal control. It has its own medium of stability to help stabilize any condition that you face. This is very, very important. So as CNAs, you may ask, why am I stressing this or why am I talking about it? Understanding homeostasis helps you recognize when something is off in a patient's body. All the things we have been talking about, the anatomy, the physiology, homeostasis, it helps you to recognize, to understand when something is wrong with a patient, because you need to understand, even though you are not involved in the actual training, you need to understand how it is done, how these things how they work. You need to understand how they work, hence this knowledge and hence the need for you to know it. Now, sometimes you get to see signs of imbalance. If a patient has a fever, like you are a certified nursing assistant, if a patient has a fever, it indicates that their body is fighting an infection. When that person or the body, the person's homeostasis, the body is actually trying to fight that infection and temperature by itself. Also, another thing that is very important, regularly checking a patient's temperature is very important. Checking a patient's temperature, pulse, and blood pressure can help you to identify issues with homeostasis early, allowing for timely intervention, which is very correct. So you see that the need for you to understand homeostasis and how the body works cannot be overemphasized as a certified nursing assistant, because it would help you, even aside your patient, you yourself, if you have this knowledge, it will help you when you see that all is not well, that your body is not able to fight certain things. You don't need a soothsayer or a prophet to tell you that something is wrong. You already know that you have to get yourself to the hospital. You have to check. So it's also important because you get to check vital signs of this health stage where they come in for the first time. You check their vital signs. So if you have the knowledge of this homeostasis, you see check their blood pressure, you check temperature, you will understand certainly that something is wrong before you even proceed to the registered nurse or the patient sees the doctor, though it's not in your place to actually tell the patient about the person's, the patient, as in taking the vital signs, and maybe you discover that this patient has excessive, very, very high blood pressure. I think I did give this illustration some time ago about going to the hospital with someone. I went to the hospital with a lady, and the certified nurse assistant that was there in the first point of contact where we just entered, I just went with her to the hospital. she was actually having a very high blood pressure, very high. She was virtually feeling so restless, and she said she needed to get to the clinic. So when she got to the clinic, to the hospital, she got there, they pulled out her card and the normal administrative procedure. They asked her to sit down, and then when they checked her blood pressure, they saw that the blood pressure was very high. This certified nursing assistant, and now said, "Oh, madam," she checked the first time, she checked the second time, and said, "Your blood pressure is so high, that is outrageously high. Do you know you can even slump? If you didn't rush to the hospital, you would have slumped." Now, something is wrong. It is important that we have the knowledge of the homeostasis, and then we understand blood pressures. We know when something is wrong with the patient. But at that particular point, that statement was wrong, coming from certified nursing assistants. And please, why was that statement wrong? What was wrong about this? What is wrong or what's wrong about this particular scenario that I just illustrated now? Please, who would help us build the cards before we move to the next? I don't like to monopolize trainings. It's just because we have taken some time. I personally, with network not suiting me, we have taken a lot of time. So, but I still want to hear your voices, because that's what will make me happy. So if you listen to me, what's actually wrong in that singular act of the certified nursing assistant?
I think it's
Hello,
not
everyone.
Okay.
Can I say something?
On your chair, please. Can I? I've not heard this voice at all.
Okay.
Not heard. On your chair, Adisa.
Please, I want to say something too.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Good
Madam
evening,
Sarah, please hold on. Let me
Good
hear
evening.
on your chair. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening.
Yes, ma'am. I think it's not, as a certified nursing assistant, it's not her duty to let the patient know what actually is wrong with her. She just take the record down and then take it to the supervisor or the medical, the doctor in charge of the primary health care, while he administers whatever he needs to do there. He will be the one in the best position to tell her what to do.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm happy to hear. In fact, today I thought I would have the time, but I would not have the time too much for pleasantries. But by God's grace, network will be friendly. Tomorrow, the people have not heard. Now I've heard Esther's name. Oh, not Esther. I think Adisa Onyeche. Sorry. So I've heard
Yes,
that
Esther
voice
was
now.
my name.
I know that the record I have is Esther. That's
Yes,
what I
ma'am.
have. So when I saw you on your chair, I was a bit confused. But now I have heard your voice, so I'm happy. I have to hear everybody's voice. Okay, Sarah, Madam Sarah, the floor is open. Thank you,
Yeah.
Esther. Go ahead,
Okay.
Sarah.
Well, I
Yeah.
just want to add little to what she has already said earlier.
Okay.
It seemed the same, but as a nurse or as an assistant nurse, you're not supposed to pass such information to your patient. As they come in, they already come depressed, like worried, they are not okay, they're distressed. So at that point, all you need to do is just tell the person you'll be fine. You said you're not feeling fine, you just come after the checkup, just tell her you'll be fine. Let's just go and see the doctor and all of that. So just make the patient feel comfortable, like make the person know that as he has comes to the hospital, like those things disturbing the person may not is going to be taken care of. That's all.
Thank you, Sarah. That's a beautiful one. Thank you. You see that we are already on the right path, and we are just gonna wow the world, all the people on this platform that will eventually turn out as nursing assistants. You certainly make me proud.
Okay,
Yes, I've seen another hand.
I have something to say if you permit it.
No, pardon. I don't know who is using the Infinix. That hand was raised first.
His Amos
Infinix
Modupe.
X65. Okay,
Amos Modupe.
Okay, Modupe.
Oh, yes,
Go
yes,
ahead.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So my own is that as a CNA, if you discover any abnormal reading of blood pressure, you have to inform the registered nurse so that she will know. So you assure your patients that don't worry, you'll be fine. So go and see the doctor. So when you get to the doctor's place, they will explain everything to him or her. So that's my own.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Amos Modupe. All these are very beautiful answers. Very, very, because it's important to learn and learn well. There is nothing as good as learn and learn well. You say that there's nothing as bad as you learning something and you cannot actually defend what you have learned. It's bad. It's worse than a sickness that you would actually need to go to the hospital. It's worse. So when we learn, we should actually, like we have already learned, we already know it, and then we are adding what we are learning to what you already know to make us who we will be eventually. So thank you so much.
Please, Ma, can I add something to
Miranda. Yes, I wanted to call you Miranda.
Yes, please.
Okay, I thought
so
Miranda
it's just a
something.
contribution, and yes, I'm saying something. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I'm trying to. Go
I'm
ahead.
saying something. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, so it's just it's a contribution and something that I witnessed. So
right.
a few months ago, my mom wasn't so well, and then we called someone. I think she's a nurse. We called her to come and do some vitals for her at home before we will know if we need to take her to the hospital. So when she came and then she checked her blood pressure was on the high side. And then the response that she gave was really not encouraging. Like the way she shouted, Mama, your blood pressure and all of that. So the scenario, because I was there and I saw everything that happened, the scenario was really very bad. Immediately, I had to tell her, I think you are not a trained nurse, because even if you want to communicate with her, do you want to kill her before her time? Even if you want to communicate with her. So what I'm trying to bring out is that even if we find ourselves in a place where we ourselves need to communicate the patient's blood temperature, I think we also need to learn how to communicate, because it might not even necessarily be in the hospital. Randomly, if you have the privilege to check anybody's blood pressure and then you check and it's high, how do we communicate? And when we say that, how do we communicate properly? That's just my contribution.
Thank you so much. That's a beautiful contribution. Communication, everything dances around communication. When we get to communication skills, we'll talk about that. Okay, I can still see some hands. Madam Mildred, it's nice to have you. Please tell us. Hello, Mildred. The floor is yours.
Good evening, Ma. Good evening, Doctor.
Mildred.
Yes, I just want to share an experience. About 2 months ago, I wasn't feeling well. I was having fever. So I went to the hospital. Getting to the hospital, I saw, as I was waiting, after they have checked my vital signs, I was waiting to see a doctor. So I saw a lady. She was fidgeting. I had to go and meet a woman. In fact, I forgot about myself. I went, I said, can I help you? What's the problem? She said they checked her, that her BP is very, very high. They've already checked her. And the drugs that they normally administer, that they are saying that one wasn't available, but the others. I said, what about the others? She said that she doesn't know, that they just saw that one of the drugs is not available. So, and she was having serious headache. She said that is one of the symptoms, very serious headache. And she was still using her gadget. She was using her phone. She was talking on the phone, I said, you're having headache. Your BP is very high. And you're supposed to drop all gadgets. Right now, you're supposed to be in a very cool place. You just sit down, relax.
And relax,
then, yes. So I took her to a place where the AC was better. The place is cooler than where she was. And I had to go to the farm, and I went to the pharmacy. I started shouting on them that, do you want somebody to die here? That woman, people have checked her BP, and she said it's very high, that there's a drug that wasn't available. Now, those administer the ones that are already available. Let those ones start working before you get the one. They said the milligram, whatever. I mean, I don't know these drugs. I've never seen them. So I said, but just go and give her the one you have. Let her take it. Let her relax, and while you look for the other one. If it's not available, you can send somebody outside or give her the prescription. Let her go and get it. instead of keeping her for over 2 hours in this hospital. So
Wow,
invariably,
so
that was what they did. Yeah, that was what they did. They just wrote it out for her. They gave her the ones that were available. She took all of them. Then they wrote the other one for her so that she can go and get it outside, and that was how she left. So, but
wow.
I didn't stop there. I had to see the owner of the hospital because he used to walk
That's
around.
Right.
Yes. So I went and reported the incident to him, and I told him to caution the pharmacy, his pharmacy department. I should go and talk to them. The patients that there are some people that somebody like mine was fever, malaria, So I can wait, but somebody like that can't wait because with her headache,
because of the
migraine headache,
severity.
because of the severe. So she now said that he now thanked me anyway and went straight to the pharmacy. I don't know what happened. Eventually, I went to see the doctor. So what I want to say here is that anybody that has a BP, one should not drive. Some of them, they will have BP, they would drive. They will be doing some domestic work, bending down to sleep and all that. Yes, stressing themselves. So a BP patient, once you have BP, there are some things you should not do, especially with gadgets, the computer, the laptop, the phones.
The phone.
Time, keep it up. Yeah, they'll keep on pressing phone, checking Facebook, social media, and we're having BP. It triggers it. Thank you, ma.
God. Mildred, you are funny. Thank you. You're always filled with stories, really. You always have one story experience. Yeah, you are, is the best teacher. Yeah, experience is the best teacher. So thank you for that. Yes, because this thing, phone, is very fun. You see somebody even struggling to even breathe, even struggling to even do something, and the person is still with phone. I don't know, technology. Thank you so much, Mildred. Okay, Kemi, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, ma'am. So my own contribution.
I'm happy to hear you, Kemi. I think I've not heard your voice. Each person that I hear the voice for the first time, I'm always happy to hear. Go ahead.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So what I want to contribute is that I think as a professional, CNA person, I think most time when we want to communicate, we should process what we want to say. You understand? I've noticed those signs in most doctors or nurse. Most time they feel reluctant before they talk. It's not as if they don't know what to say. You understand?
Of course,
but what kind of process they want to come out with something that is, that will be nice, that will be sweet.
Well, yes, of course.
That will not cause problem, you understand? Like this scenario now, when you see a sign, maybe you take a sign, vital sign of somebody, and you see something that is really bad, you understand? Like this one now, you can say, "Madam, have you been sleeping well?" Or you are not,
just very mild.
Where you are going, but you just want to. Before, like me, if I go to hospital, from where they are taking my vital sign, I want to know, even before I see doctor, I want to know what is.
Of course, yes, so many people.
Yes, I will ask a question. So most of people, if you don't know how to talk or how to communicate, you will say it is something that you're supposed to say, but you say it the wrong way. You understand? So I think the way we talk, we should just make sure that we process our, I don't know, Chad, but that's just.
Thank you. So the bottom line is everything we have said is the same. Okay. Thank you so much for those contributions. And Labake, please let me hear from you too. That name too, Labake, is new to me too. I've not heard your voice. Labake, go ahead, please.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. Good evening.
So my own point of view, I would like to say, as a CNA, it's not our duty to break any news to a patient or any relative as a CNA. All we just need to check the temperature and the vital signs very well, record them, and report immediately to the supervisor or registered nurse. Because not all the patients you can call out everything to them due to their high blood
States.
pressure or yeah. So I think that's all I have to say.
Thank you so much. You have all said everything that I would have even bothered to say. So at this point, there's nothing else for me to say. You have all nailed it. You have all nailed it. That's the A to Z of it. We are going to be looking at communication. And by the time we eventually get there, you'll see that not only in you responding to your patients, you will also see that in the course of you doing your work as a certified nursing assistant, that you need to learn communication, the way you should communicate with your patients. And if you make it a habit, it will extend to all facets of your life, even at your workplace, even in the church, even at your house and all that. It becomes a part of you. So communication is very, very important. How do you even relate bad news? How do you relate news that you know that is going to get to the person in a way that it's not going to be, the person will not receive it well? So you have to filter your words. That's the right thing. You filter, you weigh them, you weigh the enormity of what you are going to say, you weigh your words and you filter them so that by the time you bring it out, it will be good for the person to hear. It will not do the person any harm. So thank you so very much for those contributions. Today, I have not heard Mr. Nicholas's name, Chigozie. I have not heard his voice. Mr. Matthew, I have not heard your voice. Mr. Matthew, you were telling me that men, I think you or Mr. Chigozie, I can't remember, you said that we had a head yesterday. So I expect to hear the head will do more of talking today. So Mr. Chigozie, are you there?
I'm here. I tried to talk since, but you didn't give me the opportunity.
Oh my God. How can I joke with the head? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please, please, you are free. The floor is yours. Just talk anything you want to talk, please. I didn't see your hand raised. I didn't see. I'm sorry, really. I didn't see. I apologize, sir.
Okay. Although the time has been delayed and people have said all the things I wanted to say. But the main thing, another contribution is, as others say, that it's not our duty to pass a message to our patients. Secondly, because the question is, what makes that statement wrong? What makes it wrong is that is not what you are doing, you are even adding more to what is wrong with the patient.
That's right.
Somebody is already, he has a high blood pressure, and you are telling me, your high blood pressure is too high, you are even trying to kill the patient. You are not helping, you are not doing your job. So that is the only thing I can add. Others have said what I wanted to say.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nicholas. Thank you for that contribution. So the bottom line is we have said it all, the way we communicate. And of course, it is not in our place to tell the patient, your BP is 5/5 or 3/10. You know, it's not in our place. What is obtainable is that when you are done with all those vital signs, you document, and then the folder is transferred either to the doctor or to the next line of care. In some places, maybe to the nurse or wherever the person lands with with the doctor. So you are not to start from there. So that day, I say, if you see the way the lady said this thing, the woman almost slumped, and you see the blame they heaped on her. From that day, I think she will never repeat it again. The doctor was so angry. And you know, the mistake was that the woman was down actually, but when she moved to the doctor, she could not control her. So immediately she entered and the file was given to the doctor. She told the doctor, please, doctor, I don't know. I'm told my blood pressure is very high. You know, and she didn't say it's calm. She said, I'm told my blood pressure is very high. What could be causing it, doctor? And the doctor flared up. Doctor was so angry and asked her, I went in with her. The doctor asked, the medical doctor asked her, who told you that your blood pressure is so high? Who told you that, madam? And I looked at her, she looked at me, she didn't say anything again. Because, yeah, the way the man responded, obviously, the problem was going to boomerang on the nurse somehow, because there were other people there and it pointed to her. So it was not an easy thing at all. So we should at least walk and stay within our limits as CNAs. And if for any reason we have to communicate, we should filter our words and make it to have a soothing effect on our patients instead of, rather than to harm them. So that being said, let's quickly, I don't know what you think, what's your opinion, because on a fine day we should have taken break, but because of what happened, can we continue? Because break will not favor us today. I need your opinion concerning it. Do we move ahead and continue instead of
Yes,
the brief?
Let's continue.
Okay. All right. So now we want to look at infection control. Now that's the main, the heart of infection control. For a certified nursing assistant or anybody in the healthcare world, whether in the healthcare world, at work or at home, you are expected to be, instead of you being a party spreading infection, you should help to prevent and to control it. And one of the skills, one of the major skills, like I told you, that our practical is going to be packed. It's really going to be packed. It's always very interactive, and we learn a lot of things firsthand as to how it happens. You know, as to how, in case we get to see it, what will happen. Now, looking at this slide now, we are looking at infection control. It is very important as certified nursing assistants for us to be able to control the spread of infection, to prevent and to control. First and foremost, to prevent it not even happening at all. But of course, the saying that infection cannot happen, or there cannot be infection, especially in a hospital, in a facility, the chances are, well, very slim. But the fact is, as much as possible, to reduce, prevent, and to control, if at all it eventually happens, the spread of infection. Now, what is infection control? It simply means or talks about the practices and the things, the procedures, the practices that would help you to prevent the spread of infections in healthcare settings. Especially as healthcare practitioners, you know that you interface with a lot of patients. That's the first thing you need to learn. You interface with them even closer to them than the doctors and the nurses, like I said. So you have to ensure that you are hygienic, to ensure that you don't spread, to make sure that you don't spread infection to the patient, or the patient in turn too does not give you infection, because there is no place in the surface of the earth that infection spreads as fast as in a healthcare facility. That's what I want you to understand, because that's a healthcare facility consists of people that actually are at their lowest ebb, or maybe in their vulnerable states. So, and most of them, their immune system is attacked because of one illness or the other that they have. So it's very easy. It spreads like wildfire. Secondly, in a healthcare setting, is a confined setting. Is confined. Any healthcare setting is regardless of how big it is, it's a confined setting, because that person practically, especially long-term care facilities where the patient stays there, you know, is being taken care of. Now, the person, it spreads fast. It's like a confined place. So infection easily spreads. Take, for instance, those of us that are mothers, that we have children. If you have, maybe you have 3 children and one has maybe catarrh or has a flu, as fast as possible, you have to checkmate that one and try to see how best that particular child does not really interface with the others, which is nearly an impossible task. You understand? But what you observe is that when that one person has that flu, before you say Jack and you say Robinson, you'll be surprised that all your children would have flu. Because why? Because there is interaction, there is contact, there is they are together in a confined place, in a home, in a setting. So that is what happens. So especially as healthcare workers, one thing we should really, really take into consideration is to understand how to handle infection, how to control infection, how to prevent infection, how to ensure that we do the things, we follow the statutory practices, that mandatory practices that is important for us to ensure that we don't spread infection, or we are able to control it in the line of our duty. Very important, because if a healthcare practitioner contacts infection, trust me, the patients that you interface with will definitely contact the infection, because you get to them, you relate with them, and a whole lot of things. So that's what we are actually going to look at in this next slide. It's one of the practical sessions that we are going to really have. We're going to look at it, how we can wash our hands, how we can handle PPE, personal protective equipment, how we can handle them to avoid the spread of infection where we work or as we work. Very important. Now, what is the importance of this infection control? It helps to prevent illnesses. That's the first thing. It helps to prevent illnesses. And then it reduces the risk of infections. When you do the necessary things, you wash your hands, you use hand alcohol-based, excuse me, hand sanitizers, you do the things you need to do, you use your nose mask, you use your face mask, you follow all the necessary precautions as much as you should, then we have a better world because we'll have less of the outbreak of infection or the spread of infection. Excuse me. It also promotes safety, ensures that you have a safe environment for patients. Remember, not only patients you interface with, their family members come to the hospital, the other staff, visitors. You are in a vintage position, a disadvantaged position in the sense that you interface with all these people. So you have to be very careful as not to contact infection so that you don't spread it, because it will spread like wildfire. It will spread like fire that is lit in a dry forest. You can, in a desert, you know what that means, dry forest where you have leaves. It will spread very fast. So that is just it. So now on this slide, we want to look at infection control. This is a chain of infection. Just as you have the chain we wear on the neck, both the male, the female, we have chain that we wear on our neck. Now, each part is interlocked with the other. Any attempts for the chain, one part to be taken out of the chain, you cannot get a complete chain again that will go around your neck. That is how infection is. And that is how this chain is that we are going to look at right now. Okay. Now, we want to look at, first and foremost, the infectious agents. We are going to talk science a little bit now. We are going to talk science just as we talked about anatomy and physiology. So we are going to look at pathogens. Pathogens, we can say pathogens, or we say the infectious agent, the agent that will actually cause the infection. That's what it means. Then we have things that can cause infection. We have bacteria, we have the virus, we have the fungi, we have parasites. These are pathogens or infectious agents that can actually cause infection, germs that can cause infection. You understand? For example, maybe the flu virus. Let's use flu because I like to use flu as an illustration. So the flu virus is an infectious agent that can cause illness. Very important. Now, look at the chain. We have the pathogens, which I've just finished talking about, the bacteria, the virus, the fungi, the parasite. Bacteria cause this infection, fungal infection, bacterial infection, and then parasites, and so on and so forth, cause this infection. We also have the next part of the chain, if you can see clearly. The next part of the chain is the reservoir. The reservoir, that's the next part of the chain, different parts of the chain, like you're wearing a chain that contains different parts and maybe different colors. So the next part of the chain is the reservoir. And what does that actually imply? Now, the reservoir is a place where the infectious agent lives and multiplies. The infectious agent lives, that is its home. It lives and then it multiplies. Now, what are the likely reservoirs that we have when we talk about these things? That's what we are going to be looking at now. At this point, we have people. People are likely reservoirs. People that actually contact the bacteria or contact the virus. It could be animals too. Could be animals because we contact infections too from animals. When maybe you buy meat and you don't boil the meat, you know, to the specific temperature, or you don't maybe steam the meat to a particular temperature that it should be, you know, heat it to a particular before you actually make use of it. You can contact infection. Then we have the soil too as a reservoir. We have the food that we eat, and we have water. These are reservoirs. Reservoirs, like I said, are the places where these infectious agents live and multiply. Okay, example, like we are still talking about flu, a person that is infected with a flu virus serves as it will multiply in you, so you become a reservoir. That is very important for us to know. Now, we go to the portal of exit. We have this bacteria. The bacteria has come in contact with the system, with your system, and then it moves it comes out, portal of exit. That's it comes out from you, comes out from people, from animals, from the soil. It comes out, excuse me, it comes out from that reservoir. You understand? So portal of exit. What do we mean by the portal of exit? Now, the way the infectious agent leaves the reservoir to spread to others. That is the portal of exit. How does it? Okay, we agree that it's in the people, it's in the animals, it's in the soil. How do they actually come out and another person gets infected? Through what means? That's the portal of exit. Now, sneezing, coughing, that's why etiquettes, when we get to look at the practical aspects, coughing etiquettes. How do you cough? You don't cough into your palm, because if you cough into your palm, you are likely going to spread the infection. If you cough into your palm and you use that palm to attend to a patient, or you get into, because its fluid is airborne. So even if you don't even touch, so long as it is there in the air, there's any form of contact or close proximity to the patient and you that has that flu, automatically you see a person starts sneezing. That's why when one person has a flu, has cough, maybe let's look at maybe cough or catarrh in the house. You know, I don't want to use the medical names for those, but let's look at just cough and take ordinary catarrh. Before you know, another person contacts that. Because when you sneeze, it gets into the air. The person within the environment also contacts it. So coughing or sneezing could be is a portal of exit. Now, like I was saying, if the portal of exit, if you cough or you sneeze, some tiny droplets that contain that virus is released into the air and another person takes it. Feces too, there's some kind of infection that you will have, you know, through your feces, your excreta, or maybe your feces, someone contacts it. Bodily secretions too, portal of exits, bodily secretions, the fluids, secretions that come out of your body too, could also, it comes out of your body. So another person can easily contact the infection from a person that actually has that flu. So now we have talked about that, and then we want to look at the mode of transmission. It could be through direct contact. It could be through indirect contact. It could be through the vectors. It could be through any means at all of any contact or indirect contact, or through vectors, which we are going to see in the subsequent slides. I just want to give you a picture of it, because when I run down the slides, I may not talk in total. I mean, it delve deeply into it. So that's why I'm taking my time to explain the chain before we move to the slides, and we'll just have a walkthrough. So now we have the portal of entry. Remember, we talked about portal of exit, and then by coughing, by sneezing, you know, by maybe using the toilet and another person sits on it, and a whole lot like that. You contact all those infections and viruses from all these kinds of portals of exit. Then mode of transmission, we've talked about that. Then portal of entry, it could be through the mouth, it could be through the nose, it could be through the eyes, could be cuts in the skin, or any opening at all. That's portal of entry. It could come into your system. Now, this mode of, sorry, I beg your pardon. Yeah, this portal of entry, take for instance, the flu virus. We are still using flu as example so that it will be easier to understand. The flu virus can enter a person through the mouth, through the nose, through your eyes, after you touch a contaminated surface, and then you touch your face. Very easy. It's just like the time we used to have that COVID. They'll say use nose mask, use face mask, and people didn't really understand. You know, because it's very easy. You contact you come in contact with a surface. Maybe you don't clean surfaces, you don't clean door handles, you don't sanitize, you don't disinfect places. Before you know, of course, it's very easy to contact infection. Very easy, especially you touch your face or you touch your hand, or you touch a patient without washing your hands, or you attend to a patient that has flu without you washing your hands or using your hand gloves. Before you know, you will be the one contacting the infection. So this is very important. And then we have the last but not the least, the susceptible hosts. What do we mean by susceptible hosts? People that are at risk, people that are actually the population of people that are at risk. Let me just say so. That are at risk of having this infection. One, the elderly. a person who is at risk of infection due to factors, those are the susceptible hosts, due to factors like weakened immune system. We talked about immune system. Maybe their body can no more fight infections again. They are at risk. Any little thing, bam, it becomes so serious and severe because their body cannot, the homeostasis in their body cannot live up to what it should do. So they are very, very vulnerable and open to these infections. They are susceptible to getting infections. Then we also have young children, elderly individuals, chronic or those with chronic illnesses, are more susceptible to infections. People that are healthy, people that have an immune system and all that. It's not as if you cannot get infection, but being susceptible means easily prone to. You're prone to catching that particular thing because of the state of your body, your illness, or maybe a young child, or maybe you are aging. With age comes a lot of automatically when someone ages, your immune system is also going, your body fighting mechanism is also deteriorating. It comes with age, except God has extraordinarily blessed you. That's when it will not happen. But with age comes a lot of this bottleneck. So that is it. So let's, like I said, we are just going to have a walkthrough as we move on the slides. You can just see like those hands, you see the hands coming in contact, shaking hands, and you can see germs. We cannot see germs with our naked eyes. It's impossible for you to be able to see germs with your naked eyes as it stands. So it is important that we take a precaution. We take precautionary measures to ensure that we don't spread these germs because you cannot see it. Sometimes, I remember when we used to have that COVID, some people say, my hand is clean. Oh, I don't need to wash my hands. So we had hand sanitizers for people, sanitize your hand before you actually get in contact with anything. But people took that time. They took many things for granted then. They were like, okay, just for compliance sake, they'll just wear their nose mask. As soon as they are out of reach, where they know they don't have to answer to anyone, they just pull it off and say, some people even to the extent of saying they are just deceiving us. There's nothing like that, and so on and so forth. I heard a whole lot, and I just laugh because even aside you using those PPE, you can also ensure you wash your hands. Even washing these hands is a challenge because people see it as a Herculean task to wash your hands. But as care workers, it is very important that we wash our hands. Very important. So for us to be able to stop the spread of this infection, it is very important that we wash our hands. We adhere to the strict, stringent rules that we should follow in order to keep our hands clean or to maintain hygiene so that we don't spread the infection. So like I talked about pathogens already, we had already said that. So I said that I needed to explain it as it was round the chain so that we understand more. So now, like you can see, these are the pathogens. And then pathogenicity means, what does it mean? It talks about the ability for you to actually contact this. What is the ability for a particular, maybe you to contact a particular infection? Degree of virulence talks about how serious, maybe bacteria, now maybe you are infected. To what extent can you actually be infected with this thing? How strong is your immune system? What is the degree with which this thing can affect you? And then transmissibility. How is it transmitted? Those are the things it talks about. Now, the reservoir, we already talked about that, but bringing this slide, I want to explain between symptomatic infection and asymptomatic. There are many times that you get to have signs that you get to have symptoms. Sometimes people get ill and then they don't have any symptom, no sign that they are infected. There are some infections like that. There is no sign whatever that they actually have infection. Those ones are asymptomatic. The symptomatic ones are the ones that you see, that you get to see with your own eyes. You understand? You get to know that, oh, I have this. Maybe the flu, you will be sneezing, you'll be having the normal issue. So a symptomatic, that's symptom. The first one, a symptomatic infection occurs when a person shows clear signs and symptoms of a particular illness due to the infectious agent. It is clear. Now, you will see it that you are experiencing all these things. It can vary depending on maybe the type of infection. It may be maybe fever, maybe cough, maybe fatigue, pain, whatever, but the symptoms are clear. Now, individuals that have this symptomatic infection, they are often contagious. They are most to 90%. If you have catarrh, you have cough, of course, you see this, people will see the symptoms will be glaring. So you can easily spread it. Even people can guard against it because you have the symptoms. Oh, you have this, I don't want to come near you so that I don't get this, because the symptoms are visible. But we also have the asymptomatic, and this one is the one that you don't exhibit any symptoms of the disease. Despite being symptom-free, you can still spread the pathogens to others. That's the one that is very bad, because you feel that there's nothing, it's okay, but it's very easy for you to spread. You can equally spread it to others. The unfortunate thing is that the symptoms are not glaring. That's why we need to check ourselves often. So asymptomatic carriers can be particularly challenging in controlling infection, because themselves, they may not even realize that they are infected. And as such, how will they know that they are posing a risk to others? That's where the problem is. You understand? Example, maybe someone that has a typhoid fever, an individual that is maybe affected or infected with Salmonella typhi. It's a bacteria that causes typhoid fever. That person may not show any symptoms, but can shed the bacteria in their stool. Maybe can use the toilet and then the bacteria comes out from the stool. And as such, someone else can get infected. You can equally get infection through food and you don't even know. Asymptomatic. It's not easy. So how do you know? How do you know the differences between the two? It's very easy. The symptomatic, you see the visible signs. The other one, you don't see the signs. The symptomatic can be contagious. Oftentimes, it is contagious. 90%, it is contagious. Then the asymptomatic often can be contagious or could not be. There are some kind of some that are not contagious. So that is the difference. Like typhoid fever that carries no symptoms, that you don't even know until when you go for checks and then before you now know that, oh, I actually have a typhoid fever. So summarily, that is the difference between the two. Okay, it's too quiet. All right. Can you hear me? I have talked and talked because I'm trying to read.
Yes, we can.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Please, you can ask
Done.
questions. So I'm checking the chats. You can ask your questions. I just want us to cover this, and then maybe we would have time for questions. And I don't want us to exceed the time today, like I promised. All right. So we have the portal of exits, which is like we talked about. We had already finished talking about that. The portal of exits, how the reservoir that it comes out. We're finishing by 9. It's supposed to be 9. This depends entirely on the characteristics of the reservoir. We are finishing by 9. All right. Now, you can see that man there sneezing. The man opening his mouth, sneezing. So you can imagine a healthcare practitioner, maybe you sneeze in that manner, or even if it is not in this manner, like the man has opened his mouth and closed his eyes and everything. Even if it's not in this manner, you sneeze without covering your mouth. Imagine what can happen to the populace you take care of. Or your patient does this. Imagine what can happen to you. That's why you too, there has to be some form of sense awareness. You create an awareness, you give them education so that they'll actually know. So, portal of exit, vomiting, diarrhea, saliva, sexual contacts, like you can have the genitourinary portal of exits, maybe sexual contact. You can contact, that's why there's some infections, they'll tell you it's through sex, you have to do this, you have to do that. Now we have the respiratory too, coughing, the sneezing through your skin, open wounds, these are portals of exits. Mode of transmission. Direct contacts, you can see there. Airborne, you can see through insects like vectors. You can see airborne vectors that will spread something dangerous in the air and then it spreads. See the other man there sneezing, and just take a look at someone sneezing without covering his mouth. He's even holding a handkerchief in his hand, but he did not cover his mouth. He just opened the mouth, and just take a look at what could come out that is not visible to the eye. Then if someone is here, the time is 8:30. It's not 10:30. You see the insects, and then you see what is happening there. So you see why it is extremely important that we have to guard against these infections. We talked about the portal of entry to inhalation, absorption, like you can see through your mucous membranes, your eyes, openings, you know, your ears, openings like that. This through the respiratory tract, inhaling. When you breathe, maybe you inhale it, you inhale, you breathe in. Just as you breathe in, you are breathing in what is not actually good it gets to you as an infection. Inoculation injury, maybe through some of the injuries that you have as a result of inoculation, you know, maybe vaccination or inoculation. It could also be through insertion of medical devices. So many times, if medical devices are not properly sterilized, that's the right word, it's not properly sterilized, then you use it on patients, you know what that means. That's why it's very important. People in the medical field, you have to be very, very cautious of these things, because human life, you cannot gamble with human life at all. That's why we stress, I emphasize, human life, you cannot play with it. It's not like something that you just do, money in the bank or anything. Life is life. No talk of saying sorry, because when you say sorry, you cannot bring that person back. So that's why it's important we do what we need to do. Now, the last link in the chain is the hosts, the susceptible hosts. Like you can see, the old people, you know, people that are elderly, children, age, health status, someone that is maybe is not fine, is not feeling well, that the immune system is already attacked. Then medication usage too can also make you susceptible. There are people that take medications on their own. They are doctors. Like one book, they say, where there is no doctor. You know, they themselves are doctors. So instead of actually having the checkup, going to the hospital to take care of themselves, they have decided to abuse medication. They just take drugs the way they want. They just feel that, oh, I have headache. Oh, I should take paracetamol, because they have an idea that paracetamol is to be taken for headache. But you don't know that there is something that could have instigated a headache. Yes, you can take paracetamol, and paracetamol will give you a temporary, relief. So, but when you don't attack the challenge, you don't attack what is actually creating the headache, that's where we are failing. You just take the paracetamol. So it's very important that we check ourselves to ensure that that we don't get infected or contact infection. This is very, very important for us to note. So breaking the chain of infection is important. Breaking the chain of infection. How do we break the chain of infection? By doing the things we need to do, controlling or eliminating the source of transmission, like we already said. If you can eliminate the source of transmission, you can wash your hands well, you can cover your mouth, you protect the portals of entry, you increase your defense, you ensure that you eat food that will help your immune system. For your patients, you ensure that they know they're properly educated, you know, as to what to do. You don't sneeze into your palm, rather you sneeze into your elbow. You just curve your elbow and form the greater than sign. For those of us that are mathematicians, you know, when you curve your right hand, regardless of the direction you stand, your right hand gives you greater than sign. So greater than or less than. When you curve your left hand, it gives you less than. So either you prefer to cough doing the greater than sign, or you cough doing the less than sign, is better than you coughing into your palm, because you interface with your hands, you work with your hands. The hands, you do most of this into your, or, well, I know we don't even do that, but some people still use their hands to, you know, to clean mucus and all those type of things, as the case may be. So targeting one or more of these areas can help to slow down this infection. So generally, just as we said, controlling the source of transmission, stopping the disease to spread. If you observe that one person has, it's just like that time of COVID-19, when someone has been, maybe the person actually has the ailment or the COVID-19 challenge, you have to isolate the person. That's where we have the isolation technique. We quarantine the patients, and then we keep you separately, because You are not any little mistake to keep you in between people. You count, you imagine the spread. That's the people that will contact that particular. So the best thing to reduce the spread, to control the spread, that person is isolated and the person is quarantined to avoid interfacing with other people and spreading the infection. So as we have already seen, all those things are things that we should know. Cook at the right temperature, cook your meats, kill the bacteria. Animals come with bacteria. So when you season meat, I used to see when they'll say, just boil it, you know, just do this, boil it a little. I want it half done. I've heard people really say this half done thing. Season the meat half done. I want it to be half done. And I wonder, because already you have to, there's a particular temperature, you have to boil your meat in order to kill the bacteria that is in it. So that when you eat it, you know you are eating healthy, you are eating safe for those that eat meat. Yeah, because meat is, some people don't eat meat. So it depends. For those that eat meat, you have to make sure you boil it and then you do the right, what you have to do. Portals of entry, too, very important. We have talked about that already. The portals of entry. You have to cover, use your nose mask, use your face mask, use your hand gloves, and then don't expose those openings for, don't expose those openings when you are actually having hand-to-hand interface, maybe taking care of patients or while you are carrying out your duty. This is very, very important. Those that are isolating people that are infectious and minimizing contact, because when you minimize, okay, I think we should have it good. That's herd immunity. There's something we call herd immunity. Now, what does it mean? If you can create awareness, you can help 10 people. If in a community where there are 50 people, if you can help 5 people or 3 people to adhere to the rules, to use their nose mask, to wash their hands properly, to do what they have to do, you have helped to a large extent to safeguard that particular community, because those 5 people would have infected, maybe count 5 people would have, in each of them will infect 5. And then you can imagine in a split second, the whole community has come up with that particular infection. So that's herd immunity. So if you can deal with 1 or 2 or 3 persons, the rate at which that infection will spread will be minimized. That's the A to Z of this. It's a theory that is used in the healthcare team when it comes to infection control. Because when you immunize people, if as many people that are able to take immunization prevents the spread of a particular illness, it will cover the few that have not taken it, because it will reduce the spread of that particular illness to affect the general populace. That is very important. So the last but not the least is the hygiene aspect of it. Tips that will help us prevent infection, which you already know, that I just want us to run through. Proper hygiene, use your gloves, drainage containers. Okay, at this point, permit me, I'd like to take back the slide because I think I have jumped somewhere, except it's repeated. Okay, proper hand washing, preventing dust and particles. There are a whole lot more. So now, so that I will not do the talking too much. I will not do the talking too much at this point. Just 5 minutes. I would like to hear from you. How do you think, from everything we have talked about, can you mention some ways as CNAs that you can, maybe the one that I don't remember or the one that, can you mention some ways that you can help with, to help control infection or help avoid the spread of infection as a certified nursing assistant? Because it's too quiet, and the way it is quiet, I can start sleeping. So I don't want to sleep in the next few minutes. So I want to hear your voices, please. So who is going to help us?
Hello, ma.
Yes. Who is, okay, Sarah. Go ahead, Sarah. Just mention one, just one, and another person mention another one, and then another one, and then we move. We don't intend to waste time. Go ahead, Sarah, please. Okay, Sarah, I don't know. I can't hear you. I guess maybe it's your network.
Hello, ma.
Good. I can hear you. Taylor, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay,
Because I
so
can't hear Sarah. Maybe network.
a method that is underrated when it comes to helping preventing the spread of diseases is educating people on the effects and symptoms of the diseases, and also educating them on how to prevent and how to protect themselves against the diseases, like washing their hands regularly, If it is an airborne disease that is going on around, you tell them to wear their face masks and to carry, just like when COVID was on, we were ahead to wear our face masks and also carry gloves and also have our hand sanitizer. So we educate the mass, let them know what to do and all the steps they should take for their own protection. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Taylor. Yes, that's education, patient education or educating the community, public health workers, and so on and so forth. That's beautiful. Yeah, Augustina.
Yes, ma'am.
Augustina, please go
Yes,
ahead.
ma'am.
The floor is yours. Thank God I've heard your voice.
Also, also, you need to educate them, telling them when using the toilet, and then when they urinate or they use the toilet, they need to flush it very well, rinse it very well, and then use disinfectant and washing the whole place so that they will not infect anything that is has been deposited inside there.
Thank you. Thank you so very much for that.
I
So I
also
think,
have something to say, man.
all right, sir, please go ahead. Mr. Matthew,
Yes,
good.
ma'am.
I was
Good
asking
evening,
after
ma'am.
you earlier on. Good evening. Good evening, sir.
Yes,
Go
ma'am.
ahead.
So I'll just go straight to the answer because of time. So, and it's about sneezing. When we want to sneeze, we have to sneeze at the elbow. So I think it's something we can educate people on as well. That they don't just sneeze at their hands, they sneeze at the elbow. So thank you,
Thank
ma'am.
you. Thank you. That's beautiful. That's so beautiful, Mr. Matthew. Yes, you know, we said we have practical, so we are also going to do that. And it's important that people know, because even up until now, some people still will just sneeze, cover their palms, and they will just sneeze unconsciously. So it's important that we do education. We educate people, let people, public health workers, and even as you are in your own little way, you can sensitize people and let people know, no, this is not the right way to do this. This is how you're supposed to do it, and so on and so forth. Thank you so much for that. So now let's quickly, as much as possible, I crave your indulgence, let's take the last module because we cannot just afford to let it to tomorrow. It will be too much for us. So what is the last module? Vital signs monitoring. Now, this vital signs monitoring is a very important skill that we would look at for caregivers, for CNAs, for CHCAs, and anybody in the health field. It is important that we understand. Now, what is this? It's important we understand vital signs. Now, these vital signs, what does it mean? It simply talks about checking a patient to know what exactly is wrong with the patient, because that's how you will know. The first point of contact when a patient comes to the hospital is for the patient to check the vital signs. You say, sit down, you check what needs to be checked. Now, what constitutes the vital sign? What constitutes it? Now, we have 5 most critical vital signs that are supposed to be checked. As a CNA, the first point of call, you know you do this work. It's a skill that you have to learn. They have to first report to that point where you check their blood pressure, where you have to check their temperature, you have to look at the respiration rate, and and you have to find out how they are actually doing so that you can report, because you are playing a reporting role, and then you have to report to the nurse, document in the folder so that they will act based on what you have documented and then know how best they'll be able to treat the patient. So vital signs is very important and fundamental, and we must get it right. Like I said, this CNA is a practical thing. So for the purpose of this theoretical aspect, like I like to do, I like to cover both the theory as well as judiciously ensuring that the practical aspects, that we get it right, because CNA is a practical thing to tell people. But for now, we are just going to look at the theoretical aspect of it. And when we get to the practicals, we will re-emphasize it, and then we see it actually play out in real life, when we get to the practicals. So we have 5 vital signs, very important, which is the pulse, the temperature, the respiration rate, the blood pressure, and pain. Most times people do away with pain, but pain is one out of the most critical vital signs that you have to check a patient. I'm going to explain them like I like to do, one after the other. Okay, so right now we want to look at the first one, which is the pulse. The pulse or the heart rate. That's the first one. Now, for you to know, to check a patient's pulse, like you can see, what is the normal range? What would you consider as being normal? Those are the things we are going to look at now. So that if it exceeds that, you know that there's something wrong, that it is not normal. So the pulse rate of an adult should be between 60 to 100 beats per minute. 60 to 100. That's to say you will be shown how to do these things because it's theory. So it's going to be a little bit difficult for me to really, I just feel maybe you can see it real, but don't worry, get the theoretical aspect of it so that when we are doing the practicals, it will sink better. Now, you check the pulse. An adult, anything more or less than this range of 60 to 100 beats per minute when you check, there is something wrong with it. That means there's something wrong with the patient and you have to document or bring it to the notice of the healthcare, maybe the nurse or the doctor. Now, this is the range. For children, is 80 to 140 beats per minute. That is, as you check the pulse, as it's beating, boom, boom, boom. We all have our own. When we do the practicals, we'll all check. So when you check, as you hear that beat, the beat, you are counting the minutes to know whether it's between 60 to 100. Sometimes you get less than 60 and it becomes a serious problem. There's something wrong with that person. So something has to be done fast. Then children between 80 to 140. So you as a CNA, that is one of the vital signs that you need to check. We have different pulse areas in the body. When we have the practicals, we see it. We have the radial pulse where you can check the pulse on the wrist. We have the carotid on the neck. We have the brachial, the inner elbow, and so on. This is just the theory. Then when we keep the person down or we ask you to practicalize it, you will touch those areas and you feel the pulse, which you can equally do on your wrist. The wrist is the easiest one. If you touch your wrist, you get to find at the side of your wrist, you get to hear the sound, the beats. You know that's your pulse. Now, procedure for assessing pulse and choose an appropriate pulse point. Like I said, there are so many pulse areas in the body. We have the femoral, we have a lot. When we do the practicals, especially the first 8 practicals, we get to see. Then palpate the pulse, count the pulse rate, how many is it? Assess the pulse quality, is it fast, is it very fast, the beating faster than normal? Document your findings. That's what you need to do because you are not involved in the treatment. So your duties does not exceed this particular point. When you document, you hand over. It is important that you know what it involves so that you'll be able to document properly. If you don't know what it is or how to check it, how will you be able to document it? That is where a CNA comes into play. Well, once you document it and the file is handed over to the higher people, they understand exactly what to do. It's not in your place to say, oh, your pulse is not pulsing. You know, like some people will say, your pulse is not giving me what I want, or your pulse is low. No, it's not in your place to actually say that. Then we also have the respiration too. Now we have the different rates, range. All those things have ranges. Blood pressure, it has a range. We cannot, because you cannot categorically say it has to be 13, it has to be 12, or it has to be 15. No. So there is a range depending on the age, depending on certain factors, depending on the age, depending on the lifestyle of the person, and many other things. It depends on certain factors. But if it is within this range per minute, it's fine. For children, 15 to 30 breaths per minute. Breaths, that is the breathing pattern, the in and out. The in and out, you are breathing, you are counting it. The in and out, you count. The in and out, 2, in and out, 3, you count to know how many breaths per minute that the person has taken. How many breaths is it? The person has been able to breathe in and out in a space of 1 minute per minute. That is very important. Observe the patient's breathing pattern, count the number of breaths per minute, Assess the depth of the breathing, the quality of the breathing. Is person breathing fast? You know, some people may be asthmatic or something, or they breathe, you know. So if the breathing is more than the normal way it's supposed to breathe, it calls for concern. So, and when you count, you have to document it. Assess the depth of the breathing, check for any breathing difficulties. Is he breathing without ease? Is he breathing and stopping? Is there blockage in the way he's breathing? These are things you look out for. Document the respiratory rate and observation in your records so that it can be sent over. So this is important, very important. But never mind, like I said, I want you to have the background knowledge of it so that this is theory, so that when you get to practical, when we show you what to do, where to place your hand, how to count it and everything, you will understand it better than this one that I'm just maybe rapping or just saying, so that you have the knowledge of it. So we have also the temperature too. It's important that we monitor the temperature. Like we have the different equipment that we can use. We have the thermometer that you can just use on the armpit. We have the one you can just place on the forehead. We have the one you put behind the ear. We have different methods of checking the temperature. We have the underarm, the axillary, we have the tympanic, we have the temporal. It depends on the place. So based on the place, it has its own name. The ear one has a name, which is the tympanic. We have the auxiliary, which is the underarm, the one you have to lift the patient's armpit and then put it under the armpit, which we would see, we get to see when we do the practical. Select the appropriate method, whichever one that is most appropriate, that is most comfortable for the patient, that will help you to get a better statistics, whether it's the ear, the one, the tympanic, or the one you use, the temporal artery, the one you use. And you must choose the appropriate method that will give you perfect results. Then prepare the equipment, position the patient. These things are very important. Take the temperature reading, read and record the temperature. It's as simple as ABC. When you know what to do, you get straight to it and you document, because it is your findings that will be communicated to the nurse and to the other members of the healthcare team for them to know how to follow up the patient. Okay, now we have the blood pressure. This one, most of us already know. We have the blood pressure machine that we use, and the blood pressure machine is called a sphygmomanometer. That's what it is called. It is used to check the blood pressure of a patient. We have the manual one, and we have the automatic one, we have the digital one, and we have the analog one. We have different types of these machines, depends on the one, but because of technology now, and the one that is easier for us to have is the digital one, like you can see there. Nearly all households have this machine. Then we are going to check, when we have the practical, we are actually going to see how it is placed, because another thing is, if you don't place it correctly, it's going to alter your results. Very important. What does the blood pressure do? It monitors, or it measures the force of blood that is pushing against your artery. Remember, we are still talking about anatomy. Your body, your artery, the blood that is pushing against the artery walls. It measures it when you check your blood pressure as it pumps around the body. And it is measured in millimeters of mercury. That's why you have the mm. Mm means millimeters of mercury. mmHg, the millimeters of mercury, and is given as 2 numbers. Anytime blood pressure is checked, it's given as 2 numbers. We have the systolic and we have the diastolic. The systolic is the one up, and then the diastolic is the one down, like you can see there, 11878. The systolic and the diastolic blood pressure. So the normal blood pressure, the range, the normal range, take note, we are still talking about range. So we don't have any fixed number within this range that we say, okay, your blood pressure at 110 is bad, or is not very good, or this. No, if it falls within that range, also depending on certain factors, age too comes into play. Age comes into play when you are actually knowing whether the blood pressure is okay or not. Doctors can decipher that when you actually get the files to them. That's why your duty is just to record it. And then the diastolic is the lower one, is the lower blood, is the lower pressure that is read when you are actually taking a blood sample or blood pressure. Now, it is important that we note the difference. The systolic is actually the pressures in your artery when your heart beats and pumps blood. When your heart is beating, boom, boom, boom. As your heart is beating, is pumping blood. So the systolic blood pressure is the top number that records the way your heart is beating, the pressure that's exerted when your blood is being pumped. Now, just think of that systolic, maybe like a pump that is working, a pump that is working, and it pushes blood out into the arteries. That is it. So as it's pushing, the blood pressure is being recorded, and the pressure is being exerted when that action is actually pressure is carried out to know the force with which that blood is actually carrying out its act of pumping. That is the systolic, the up one. The systolic is always the up one. And then the diastolic is the lower blood pressure. Now, it is the pressure in your arteries when your heart is resting between beats. Now, your heart rests. It comes to a point where your heart rests. Don't forget, the other one is pressure, is pumping. Boom, boom, is pumping. The other one is when your heart actually rests after the pumping. So that one is the diastolic blood pressure. It represents the minimum pressure that is exerted. When your heart is at rest, that pressure goes down. And that is when it is taken to give you the diastolic part of your blood pressure reading. So it is important that we understand these things, but never mind, like BCC and the Smart Solutions, we know how to do justice to it when we get to the practicals. These things that I'm saying, you get to understand it, and we'll talk about it more when we are doing it live in the practical sessions. But overly, you need to have these notes before you get the videos of the practicals. Hence, I decided to put it together. So the systolic represents the pressure in the arteries, like I said, when the heart contracts and pumps blood, while the diastolic, the lower one, is recorded when the heart relaxes and the blood begins to fill back gently. That is where we get the diastolic blood pressure. Oh, we have 2 minutes to go. Okay. So the significance of blood pressure reading cannot be overemphasized. It indicates how much pressure that your heart has to work against when pumping blood. That's the systolic. The other one too indicates how your heart is at the lowest pressure it is. That is the diastolic. So both readings for blood pressure over the years, I have come to be hearing which one is more important. Systolic, is the systolic? Some school of thought said is the diastolic that is more important. And some doctors will say is the systolic that is more important. Well, up until now, it's still controversial because the two are equally important. But overly, what we should know as CNS is for you to determine whether a person is okay or not, it is a combination of the two blood pressures, both the systolic and the diastolic, that would actually ascertain whether that person is in good health or not. You cannot just you can't just take only one and say, okay, that one is more important, that one is more dangerous. So once that one is okay, fine. No, it is a combination of the two readings. Like I gave you the range, 120/80 is a combination of the two. So if it falls within that range, the upper one, you know that, yes, if it falls within that range, it's fine. 90 to 120, okay, it's fine. The person's blood pressure is. So that's very important for us to note when we are taking blood pressure and trying to monitor a patient's blood pressure, because not only taking once, you keep not only taking at the point the person actually comes in, you keep taking the blood pressure over and over again. We have the digital thermometer, the glass, the tympanic, like I said, to check depending on the part of the body that you are using it. We have the blood pressure cuffs, we have the pulse oximeters that we use to check the pulse. We have a lot of these things. When we eventually have the practicals, we would see them. But overly, they're just equipment that we use to check vital signs that is very important for us to note. So we have talked about all those ones, and we've talked about all those ones. And another one I want to talk about that most times we overlook, like we don't even take it into consideration. Pain is also another one that is very important. Pain. People just said, once they talk about temperature, they talk about blood pressure, they have moved. No. We also have pain. You also have to check the pain level of your patient. That is a vital sign. You check the pain level. For instance, for a patient that maybe has a chronic illness, or maybe that is in pains, you have to check, you have to monitor, you have to report, you have to ask because you know why? Because if a person that is having pain just has a minor pain, and after some time you check for pain again, the person tells you, oh, that the pain it's paining me. It wasn't like this the first time. Oh, it's increasing also. That tells you that something is wrong. So checking pain is one of the vital signs that a CNA is supposed to check. That a nurse is also something that a nurse can check. Is also something that a CNA can check, because you are the one that interfaces more with this patient. So you have to check the pain level of the patient. You have to know if the pain is getting out of hand. Because if someone that is being maybe surgery, that just finished a surgical procedure, and maybe you want to rate the pain level, because it's always rated, you have to document it. You know, it's a subjective experience that can be described as an unpleasant or an unemotional experience, something that hurts you. So you cannot just, you have to monitor it. You have to indicate. Help these healthcare providers. You as a healthcare provider, you help the patient to monitor the pain, to know whether this patient is actually improving, to help also to improve the patient's quality of life, promote the healing and enhance recovery. You have to assess the pain. Ask the patient about the pain. How are you experiencing? That's part of your skills. How are you feeling? Are you in any pain right now? Okay, on a scale of 0 to 10, can you tell me, rate your pain on the scale of 0 to 10. How would you rate your pain? With 0 being no pain and 10 being the worst pain ever. And someone that at least is still cognitively active, that still has the neurons intact, and will tell you that, I was having, maybe it wasn't paining me so much. Maybe it was 8/10. But now the pain I'm feeling is like 2/10. Based on that, you will know the level with which the pain that person is feeling has increased. That is one important that I need to bring, because most times when we do these vital sciences, I have seen online, I've seen people exclude this part. They don't take it serious, but it's very important. Use a pain scale to rate it anytime. It's also useful for children or those who may have difficulty communicating. They can just write it for you. They can write it for you, you know. Some of them can show their facial expressions. When you talk about the pain, they can really, you see a child from the face, you know that the pain is excruciating, is increasing, and something is wrong. So this is important. Pay attention to the body language of your patients while you are checking pain. They are frowning, they are grimacing, you know. These things, their restlessness or their difficulty finding a comfortable position, all these things are important. Document depending on the different types of pain or the different ratings of the pain, because we have different types, which is for medical practitioners. We have the acute pain that is severe. We have the chronic pain that is worse than the acute pain, and so on, or the neuropathic pain, depending on the kind of challenge that the patient actually has. So it is important and essential that CNAs should assess vital signs, should assess pain, so that the patients can receive appropriate care and they can be managed, the pains can be managed. On that note, I think procedure, this is important as well, but we'll get to see when we do the practicals, prepare the environment, ensure privacy, we cannot overemphasize that when you are doing anything with your patient. Ensure that your patient is comfortable, follow step-by-step procedures, document, and then record measurements accurately. Notify the nurse of any abnormal reading that you see. Not notify the patient, but notify the nurse. So these things are very, very important to ensure professionalism, to ensure that you are doing your job well, to ensure that the patient's health is paramount to you. You have to do what you have to do. So, someone's mic, Ayokumi, Ejo, please help us to mute your mic. So on that note, I think we have been able to do justice to what we have for today. Once again, I do really sincerely apologize on behalf of the network. It was really frustrating. And I trust God that we will not have, so I've never had this type of experience that I had today. And it's not palatable at all. I pray that we will not have such occurrence again. So do we have any question or any contribution? We've actually come to the end of today's training, and I'm so glad that I still have up to 27 people. I'm really, really happy because I was thinking some people would have said it's 9 o'clock, well, let me go and rest. But I'm glad. That means we'll make excellent certified nursing assistants. We will certainly make us proud at the end of the day. So do we have any question, please? It's quiet. Have I been talking to myself all along?
No.
Okay. All right. All right.
No, you haven't. You haven't.
You have answered the question you wanted to ask.
Okay, I have answered the question.
Yes.
Oh, this one.
The
Okay,
class
okay.
is fully home.
May I know what the question is, Mr. Chibu?
Okay. The question I wanted to ask, how do we, is there any machine for us to use to check the pain when you emphasize on pain, but later you answer it?
Okay, I've answered. Actually, there are machines that medical practitioners use to check pain, but that is not in our own line of. Our own line is in the line of CNA. So our own is to check the patients when we're checking vital signs. Vital signs is not only at the first point of contact. Even if for patients that are admitted, you continuously go and check their blood pressure, monitor their temperature, and all those things. So in doing that, pain is also one of the vital signs. We assess for pain, check if the patient has any pain anywhere, or maybe a patient that is recuperating from surgery. At least as the days progress, so should the pain level reduce. But if you have increased pain level, it means that something is wrong. And vital signs, what do? They check as to ensure that they handle the patient and make the patient get better, and fish out any underlying issue before it gets worse. So if you monitor the pain, it's part of it. Thank you, Mr. Chigozie. Any other contribution or any other question? I was thinking the question you wanted to ask me is, please, Dr. Mrs. Dorothy, what actually happened that we did not start exactly? So I thought, so that's why I laughed. So you see that sometimes in communication is important. Do not preempt what someone wants to say. Don't think that you know what someone wants to say. Always hear a person before you come to, because I was like, oh, Mr. Chigozie wants to be funny. He wants to be a bit comical. Maybe you would ask me why we had to wait till before you, but surprisingly, that was not what you wanted to ask. So thank you for not asking anyway.
Thank you.
Any other question or any other contribution?
Please, ma.
Okay, so all right, please.
Okay, thank you so much for the detailed explanation. Though I didn't really start early because I closed very late at the office. So, but although I followed. Okay, ma, please, what causes fluctuations in BP readings? Because I actually had an experience last week. I went to the hospital. I was not really fine. So I was just coming back from the office. So I branched to the hospital. After they checked my BP, they were like, it was high, like at 138. So they said I should go and down. After some minutes, like 10, 15 minutes, I went again to check. It was 120. So I didn't really ask her. So because I was just feeling down that day. So I didn't really want to ask. So what must have caused it?
Okay. Even though that one is for medical this thing, but I'll answer because you have asked. Now, blood pressure can fluctuate for many reasons. It can fluctuate for many reasons. You can be in a very stressed situation. Now, maybe you are very stressed and they check your blood pressure and it's maybe 120. It depends on the interval it is checked. Okay, let me ask you, is it immediately, like you check now for the first time, and after maybe after the first reading, you are not satisfied, you check again the second reading? Is that it gives you a long...
After like some 15 minutes, because they told me to go and sit first. So after I relaxed, I went to check again and it reduced.
Good. So you have asked the question and you've answered. You see, blood pressure, as you went back and stayed in a relaxed, there must have been something that that's in a relaxed state. Normally in a relaxed state, you get a lower blood pressure. That's automatically how it's supposed to be. That's why, like Mildred said something something earlier when that lady was actually asked to sit down and not to handle her phone that she was busy pressing. She should relax and stay in a state that's a state of a relaxed, a relaxed state. Let me say so. Her blood pressure will definitely come down. So that's what happened to you. Maybe with that anxiety, okay, let me go and check my blood pressure, and one or two things, other things put together made your blood pressure to be like that. And you were told, okay, go and sit down and relax. Maybe just calm down, sit down, keep yourself a bit relaxed, and then later they check the blood pressure. Ordinarily, checking your blood pressure in a relaxed state and you checking your blood pressure as at the first time you went there, certain things must have happened to the rate which the blood, pumps, and the systolic and the diastolic, like I explained. So it has gone down. That's why you have the difference. Now, but if it's in a longer period of time, that's why I asked whether it's immediately or in a longer period of time. If it is maybe you check now and before maybe 2 days or 3 days time, you go and check again, there are many things that make BP to fluctuate. Your lifestyle, maybe poor diet, you don't take sufficient diets that you're supposed to take, poor diets, lack of exercise. Maybe you are somebody that is very used to exercises, doing exercises every morning and doing, and then after some time, you just maybe lose guard and you don't do those. You will observe that your BP as at that time you were doing exercise and the time that you are not doing exercises, certainly there will be a difference. Many things, smoking can make your blood pressure to fluctuate, you to have different blood pressure readings when it is checked. Also, stress and anxiety. There is nothing that affects checking of BP like stress and anxiety. That's why you hear when someone's blood pressure goes up, the first thing they ask you to do is to take rest. If you are someone walking, they will tell you you need to have bed. You need to rest. The reason is so that your body will be, we are talking of homeostasis, and other things will work perfectly because you are in a relaxed situation. When we have mental health awareness, you will understand. By the time you get to that optimal level of stress, imagine how your blood pressure will be. So if not handled, you will break down. Hence, you have to calm down and rest. So if your blood pressure was taken at that time of that optimal level of stress and is checked now when you have rested, you will see that there is a great difference. And you may ask yourself, why do I have a fluctuation in that? That is just what happened, depending. So stress, physical stress, not only work, emotional stress. Maybe if you're a woman that your boyfriend has run away and left you, you are heartbroken, we women, how it used to be, or husband, or anything. Emotional stress can break anybody down. When we get to mental health, we'll talk about that, can break you down, and you'll be surprised as how your blood pressure will read in a split because you are emotionally stressed. You understand? And even mental stress too. So a whole lot of things can release hormones that make your heart, that increase your heart rate. Many things can, adrenaline, things can release the hormones that will skyrocket the rate with which your heart beats. And as such, it will come with a raised blood pressure. It's only normal. That's how we humans have been wired to be. Now, so also taking blood pressure medications incorrectly, maybe taking the wrong dose or inconsistently, can cause fluctuations. If you're a person that originally you are hypertensive, you have high BP, they'll tell you take your drugs, take it like this. You find out that in a point where you don't take these drugs, you don't even take your drugs, you go and check your blood pressure, and then you will see that it's a very serious issue. First thing, they will ask you if you've been taking your drugs because of the level of your blood pressure. So many things, we can't categorically say is one thing because a whole lot of factors can contribute. Kidney disease, cardiovascular diseases, nervous system problems, immune system problems, a whole lot can fluctuate your blood pressure up and down. So anyway, sometimes it is normal for blood pressure to fluctuate throughout the day. It's a condition, that's what it refers to when blood pressure fluctuates more than usual. That's when it becomes a problem. But if just a little fluctuation, it's not a very serious sign of anything. It's not a serious sign. So I think that should be fine at this one.
Thank you so much, ma. Thank you.
Okay, so I think, I don't know if there's any question. On this note, I want to thank everybody. In fact, you are simply wonderful. I don't know what to say, because when I was seeing, and I've been seeing comments, I was really thinking the group will be agitated. They will be like, oh, and even some that were even scared of scam, in that our group, some of us that were there are still some that are still daydreaming and say, these people that have gone to pay, they will run away, they will not do this. So I was even seeing in the registered group, I was thinking that some people say, "Oh, just yesterday we had the train, today we've logged in, we cannot access the platform, or maybe these people have, you know how Nigeria is." So sometimes when I get to see these things, I laugh. But I'm so glad that I saw comments from people, and it made me a little bit stable while I was waiting. In fact, it didn't make my blood pressure to fluctuate. And so I'm really glad. I want to say a big thank you to everybody, and do have a lovely night rest. If you have any question or anything, drop it in the chat box. Tomorrow I'll call on some names. I did not hear Rodiat's name. Many people. I've only heard maybe the same Rodiat. I have not heard. Today I didn't hear Jessica. I've not heard a couple of people. So please, Fatima More.
Rodiat is Labake. I'm also Labake. I'm the one.
Okay, Pele, sorry. You know, the way I have the names.
Where is that story?
Yes, that's why there are so many people. Mr. Chigozie, I've heard his name. Folashade Anifowoshe. I have not heard. I don't know if Folashade is here. I did not hear. I don't know.
Where
there are
is
people
that
that
story? I'm here.
Okay.
Madam Promise, but you already said that it's network. So I know that you are here because I saw your chat in the group. Thank you for being so considerate. Augustina is here, and Fatima Moreni Keji. I have not heard Fatima. Nwa Okoro, Ebere, I have not heard. So tomorrow I won't call names. Tomorrow I will be calling those people that have not heard. So I believe they'll come. Present, okay, Madam Uchenna. Me, I know you are here. The other day I saw you. You've been on point since we started. Thank you so much. I appreciate everybody. On that note, please let's do have a night, a beautiful. Yes. And the Smart Solutions, please. Yes, I've seen. The reason I am afraid, I don't know if you are Miss or Mrs. Agbota. I think I should call you that because anytime I want to call your name, I'll be like, let me not murder your name, or let me just say. So, all right. So, and the Smart Solutions, the floor is for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mrs. Dorothy Kingsley. You have been wonderful. Thank you for your patience. Thank you, all our participants. Thank you so much for your patience. Please, for emphasis, Dr. Mrs. Dorothy, please, with all due respect, call everybody's name tomorrow so that there will be peace.
I would. You know what I know how to do? I would, because there are people I've not even seen them at all, and they paid. So I don't just want them to dash me money or dash BCC UK money without showing their presence. So I will call everybody tomorrow. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, our participants. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Good night. Bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
I